The following podcast is brought to you by Pro Wrestling Connect, Australia's newest choice for event management and brand development specializing in pro wrestling.
And now, the B Plus Wrestling Podcast. Watch global. Support local. It's the B Plus Wrestling Podcast.
The news.
B plus.
Check it out! Here we go! You wanna mess with us?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen out there in the B plus land. It is me, it is I, the one they call Mr. Mysterious, and welcome to the Impact Zone. I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen, for our delay in giving out this latest installment of Impact Zone because there's been a lot of Impact Wrestling the past few days. I don't know if you noticed, but we just had Slammiversary, one of Impact Wrestling's, dare I say, biggest shows. Bound for Glory, Slammiversary, very hit and miss in terms of which one is the biggest. I feel like Slammiversary is their biggest show, but I could be wrong. But who knows, guys? If you guys are big fanatics of Impact Wrestling, let me know what you guys think. But personally, that's how I feel. I do apologize. My voice is a bit croaky. I'm just working through a couple of throat issues. Flu season is in full effect here in WA. I do apologize, but I'm going to persevere because I love you guys and I love to talk about Impact Wrestling. So we're going to break up the structure of this installment of Impact Zone because of all the stuff that's come out. So I'm going to talk about the last episode of Impact Wrestling before Slammiversary, as well as the Bash of the Brewery results and Deep Impact. And then after our lovely sponsors, after our lovely sponsor talk, we're going to cut right into Slammiversary. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the final episode of Impact Wrestling before Slammiversary. What a show it was, to be honest. So we started out with TJP going up against Ace Austin. So a second clash between the two. Ace Austin claimed that last time he wasn't prepared for TJP's return. He had researched every single person on the X Division roster, and he had ascended the X Division until TJP just outclassed him and stopped his undefeated streak just right then and there. And how did he go this week? Well, I wouldn't call this a squash, but pretty much everything Ace Austin tried here, TJP had an answer for. It was, everything he did. Like TJP, it's just really great to see him in a wrestling ring again. It's really great to see him in Impact Wrestling. Of course, former X Division champion. The guy has not lost a step. He has limitless amounts of energy. I don't know what for those of you who watched him in 205 Live, it seems like he moves differently. It's similar to how John Moxley is now compared to when he was Dean Ambrose in WWE. They just move different. They just seem happier. And I don't know if that's just me, but just the way they go about their business, I'm really satisfied with how they go, how TJP has just transitioned right back in Impact Wrestling. It's just seemed like a nice, snug fit. So Ace begun to wear down TJP with the headlock, but TJP escaped. He skidded out of the way on his shoulder blades. The amount, you'll see the highlights, the amount of high bout athleticism that both these men displayed. Don't get me wrong. So like I said, Ace Austin, he still got his stuff in. He still he launched himself in the air. He did a big space flying tiger drop to the floor at one stage. He hit TJP with his signature paper cut between the fingers. He did all that. The one true Ace was still going great, but just every single thing that he tried to do, TJP just kept an answer for. And when Ace tried to go for the fold, TJP locked in the knee bar, and Ace tapped out for the second straight week in a row. TJP has got one over Ace Austin. So this feud is far from over, and it gives Ace Austin something more tangible to do. So we'll see what happens here, but there was a very great opening match. I love TJP. And yeah, compared to the other matches we've had, so we're accustomed to high-flying action during the start of Impact Wrestling episodes, and what better way than with some high-flying cruiserweights, and TJP just rocks. He just absolutely rocks. So great start to this. Next thing we had was Kiera Hogan versus Madison Rayne. You had Jordan Grace on commentary, and interestingly enough, she is the most mature woman I have seen on a commentary tape. And I don't mean this I'm gonna try and I gotta try and phrase this right, but everything like Kira Hogan is being just petty and trying to like just be a bully, like trying to get Jordan to get angry, and Jordan is just acting like really calm, just like, oh, like she's trying to get my attention, just like she's just a child, she's just a petulant child, and everything else. And even when she gets in her face, like um she gives her a bit of like hand to the face action, and you'd expect like because you're accustomed to a lot of wrestlers like, oh no, you didn't. They just immediately start going for the person who attacked them. But no, Jordan just kind of sat down, just like obviously she wants me to get mad. It's just like I'm not accustomed to a wrestler with an actual like control over their temper. It's amazing to watch. I've never seen it before. Like it's just a little thing. It's a tiny thing, but it was a very welcome thing on commentary. And because the match itself between Kira Hogan and Madison Rayne was pretty basic. It wasn't anything groundbreaking here. There wasn't any groundbreaking from it to begin with, like the Madison doing her standard promo, and then Kira Hogan. Yeah, she's just out to make a name for herself. I think new entrance music. That's what I got from it. But yeah, all the while she's taunting Grace at ringside. Madison took advantage of the distractions a few of the times. Madison connected with a ripcord cutter for a 2 count. Like Josh Matthews, like on commentary, like I don't know what it is. I think he just gets too distracted with his wife there because he'll just like one of the things he was talking about on commentary, like, what do you think about Kira's hair? You know, just like he's and like Jordan again being mature, like, do you really want me to answer what I think of her hair? I could care less about her hair, Josh. I think Josh Matthews should just like, he should just be excused from commentary whenever his wife is on because he doesn't. His mind is not on the mission. So that's what I think anyway. Kira attempted to use the ropes for leverage at one stage, but Grace, she didn't break it, but she went off the commentary team to try and break it. But the ref saw it beforehand, and yeah, so and Madison still kicked out. So, but the fact that Jordan actually went up to do that, Kira noticed, tried to get in her face and everything else. Then Kira hit a modified swinging neckbreaker for the win. So it was still a clean victory, even though she tried to win dirty. And then afterwards, you had Grace hit the ring, and Kira's just like, oh, I'm ready to go now. The moment she gets in the ring, goes up the ramp. And it's just, I love on commentary, it's just like being a child, the one thing, but cheating, that's not on. Like, I love, Jordan Grace, please get on commentary more. Like, the one wrestler with impulse control. I never thought I'd see the day. Just like wrestlers are always very reactionary the moment they're on commentary. Like just the slightest nudge and they will crack. Not Jordan Grace. Like, it was just a brilliant thing. Backstage, we had a really weird little segment with the Dinas and the Desi Hit Squad. So you had the Desi Hit Squad. They're going to have a special tea with an ancient brew. And the Dinas, while they're talking about how great this tea is, they swap it out for some beer, and hijinks ensues. It's like, have a nice drink. What the hell is this? And Raju's like, actually, it's not bad. Like, the Dieners, like, Dennis the Menace antics right there. I'm surprised that they weren't on Slammiversary at all. I was really expecting them to be. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I thought this would actually lead to a Slammiversary match, but didn't end up happening. Found that very strange, but obviously they're gonna maybe keep pushing this forward more. I don't know where else we can go from here, but we'll see. Afterwards, Father James Mitchell is trying to again keep Havoc and Su Yung on the same page before they compete in the Monsters Ball. I don't know how he could do that because he keeps saying to Su Yung, we're going to make sure Havoc gets the title, right? If Su Yung could speak, just like, well, what about me, you know? Well, what's the point? Like, just forcibly making her the lackey, not right. But yeah, trying to get them on the same page, and then you have Rosemary and Taya. They're trying to get on the same page. Mitchell tells Sue that the goal is to make Havoc the next knockout champion. I mean, how much more can she take before she just snaps? That's all I'm going to say. Next match we had was Rohit Raju with Raj Singh and Garma Singh, of course, going up against Laredo Kid. So, great couple weeks. I know this is pre-recorded, but great couple weeks for Laredo Kid, especially after Fighter Fest. He was on fire, and he really brought out the best of Rohit Raju. So, Laredo attempted a springboard, but the bottom turnbuckle snapped off. It actually snapped off from this point throughout the entire episode, and he went for it again and again and connected with the springboard moonsault. I love this entire thing. They didn't get to fix. I don't think they fixed it throughout this entire episode. They just left it there, and thankfully, it didn't hinder anybody else. That was something. But it didn't hinder Laredo at all because he did a springboard crossbody. He's in control for a lot of the match. He did a big, powerful suicide dive through the ropes. So really, he took control of the entire match, and then Garma distracted the referee, allowing Raj to distract Laredo. This gave enough time for Rohit to recover and avoid a top rope corkscrew. Rohit did a double foot stomp off the top rope. Pretty standard fare, not as good as low keys, we'll say that. But yeah, Rohit Raju with shenanigans beats Laredo Kid. And the Dizzy Hip squad are slowly racking up those victories. I'm really surprised. So we didn't resolve it at Slammiversary. We'll see what happens next time. The next segment we had was Moose in the ring. His final words before he faces the whole effing show, Rob Van Dam, this Sunday at Slammiversary. And he talks about having a similar career path to RVD, but says he's doing it better. And I'd say you guys are a bit different personally, but it was nice. It was nice. The way he delivered it was like, oh yeah, fair enough. Moose showed a video of him standing over Sabu. So I've never seen this as well. So a wrestler in the ring actually cuts to themselves pre-recorded on the Titantron. I've never seen that before, I don't think. And especially to you would think it'd be RVD in the ring to see Moose attacking Sabu on the Titantron. But no, they did it the way they did it. Again, these little quirky things that you don't see in other wrestling shows. Like whoever's in charge of production, they get an A for effort this week. I'll tell you that right now. But yeah, the fact that Moose showed that he attacked Sabu is like RVD's seen enough. He hit the ring. He brawled with Moose until security broke it up. He flipped over the top rope. They only brawled for a good 10 seconds or so, which was good because RVD, they're hiding the fact well about RVD's age and his hindered moveset now. They really are hiding it well. And I'll get into their match later on in the segment, but it was a really nice it was a really nice segment, nice final segment before their match at Slammiversary, I will say that. The next match we had was the triple threat, Dez versus Wentz versus Trey, all three members of the Rascals. The loser will not represent the Rascals in the Tag Team Championship match at Slammiversary. And this was just every single flippy shit you could possibly think of. These guys killed each other. They just went everything. And I will say this. So I loved all this. Trey kind of confused me because he actually broke up a couple counts between Dez and Wentz, which, if you think about it, that's just the stupidest thing ever because it was the person who get pinned would not be in the match. So why would you prevent your partner, prevent your teammates from pinning each other? Because that means that you are still in the Slammiversary tag match. I'll tell you why, because Dez and Wentz picked up the victory. They pinned Trey. And that's not surprising. They're the tag team. Trey is the singles guy. I was kind of, I don't know what I was expecting. I've never seen Trey and Dez or Trey and Wentz as a tag team unit. It's always been all three, or Dez and Wentz, and then Trey doing some single stuff, which is fine. I don't know what I was expecting. I was like, oh, maybe it will be something different. But yeah, pretty much, yeah. Dez throws Wentz into a shooting star on Trey. They both pin him for the win. And yeah, I could go into great detail about how awesome these guys were. Because honestly, each member of the Rascals is very unique. Each member brings something different to their faction. And like, as much as they want to say like Trey is the leader and he is the great single star, like they all do really great work, and they've really excelled these past few, I'm gonna say months. Like since the training montage, like it may have been for jokes, but they've really upped their game. It's just the little things, but they more and more they're showing just how innovative they can be. And yeah, Impact is all the better with them in it. So afterwards, guys, Tessa Blanchard is seen arriving to the venue with a baseball bat in hand. We had a Killer Cross promo, if you can call it that. So he is still in that church. So he said last week that he'd make himself comfortable. He did make himself comfortable. So he was doing a sermon for Eddie Edwards' career and their first blood match. So he drinks from a chalice, and turns out it was filled with blood. Now, for those of you thinking where he got the blood from, the last person he talked to was a priest. Yeah, Killer Cross just like probably murdered a person of the cross, but that's neither here nor there. It was a great visual, I will say that, and I was really looking forward to this match. It was obviously Killer Cross is just innovator of violence. I respect his work. I love. For those of you who don't know, over this week for Natural Born Killers for FSW or FCW, he faced off against John Moxley. Look it up. I never thought I'd see the day that these two would face off, and it was glorious. It was absolutely glorious. Then we had the final match of this episode. X Division champion Rich Swann and Willie Mack versus Johnny Impact and Johnny Bravo with a taped on man bun. What can you say? What can you say about that? Like, they have a weird, like, Johnny Bravo has this weird relationship with Johnny Impact. It's a lackey role, but at the same time, Johnny Bravo, he doesn't insult Bravo. Like, Johnny Impact doesn't insult Bravo. He doesn't berate him. It's just like, you do my stuff, and like he doesn't call him out for being just ridiculous. I don't know. There is some feelings in that group. I just can't put my finger on just like what exactly is at play. But Johnny hit Swan with a swinging neck breaker. So obviously, because Johnny Bravo is not a bloody wrestler, this was really a handicap match where Johnny Bravo just kind of inserted himself and just broke up pinfalls. I'm surprised this was the main event. I thought this would have been second to last. Like, I would have much rather the Rascals be the main event for this final episode. That would have worked out a lot better, personally. But yeah, this was still entertaining to watch. Johnny tagged in Bravo. He laid the beat out on Swan a little bit. Like, it's just your basic manager tactics. It was. So Johnny body slammed. I love this. Johnny body slammed Bravo onto Swan for a 2 count. I've actually seen that done a few times in the independent scene here in WA as well. I really love that level of ingenuity. Swan canned Johnny Impact's edge attempt into a modified DDT. Willie hit Johnny with a standing moonsault, but Bravo broke it up. Bravo distracted Willie, allowing Johnny to lay him out with a disaster kick. In the end, Bravo was trapped in the ring with his opponents. And so, yeah, Bravo took the pin for this one. Willie hit him with a stunner, followed by a Phoenix Splash from the middle rope. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, Rich Swann and Willie Mack walk out victorious, which as what it should be, because again, Johnny Bravo is not a wrestler. Yeah, and we ended. So what I thought would be a weird way to end, we ended with an even weirder way to end the latest episode of Impact Wrestling. So we have a segment with OVE. You have Jake Christin, Sami Callihan. They're celebrating in advance their win at Slammiversary. Like, it hadn't happened yet, but they're just saying like, oh, well, we'll treat ourselves because we know we're going to win because we're men. We are manly men in tights. No, they didn't say that. But yeah, they're just like, where's Dave gone? Like, he said they're going to, I'm trying to remember what he said correctly. So he said they're going to lock up Madman Fulton, put on the Little Mermaid, like on loop, and then just, head back as soon as you can. They're like, poor Madman. Like he must support. Like hopefully he doesn't mind the casting of Halle Berry in the new live action remake. Oh, the heat from that on the internet this week. The heat is palpable. But yeah, if they're wondering where Dave Chris was, I didn't have to wait for long. He just slid across this table full of nice delicacies, and Tessa was there. This was a very overproduced segment. It was just like, it looked like it came out of a low budget movie, but I enjoyed it for what it was. So yeah, Tessa Blanchard interrupted Sami Callihan's party, attacked Ovi with a baseball bat. What's going to happen when they meet face to face? Oh, I wonder. And they ended it with Tessa about to lay the bat onto Sami Callihan. That they did the similar cut to how Eddie Edwards looked like he almost killed Killer Cross. They did the same thing with Tessa, but we know they're facing off at Slammiversary. You shouldn't. That shot should actually be saved for when you don't know what's going to happen. When you do know, it's well, obviously they survived. Well, no, of course they survived. It's but suspension of disbelief. That shot, the way they do it, with looking at Tessa from down below, where she's going to just lay the wrath of God on him. Just, I don't know. It was an entertaining little fun little segment to end this latest episode, and I was really hooked. I was really excited for Slammiversary, and I was thinking okay, that was a really entertaining episode of Impact, and I'm going to check out the 2 segments. But I was thinking yeah, that was a great couple episodes of Impact Wrestling that we've seen so far. Then I'm going to look at their exclusive episodes on Impact Plus, their exclusive pay-per-views, Bash of the Brewery and Deep Impact. I'm thinking not much is going to happen. It's going to be a nice little entertaining thing. But how wrong was I? Because at Bash of the Brewery, we had new Impact World Tag Team Champions. What the hell happened? Out of the blue, and don't get me wrong, I am all for this result. I am all for this. But what happened was, so I'll go through it bit by bit. Bash of the Brewery, San Antonio, Texas. They took this idea off MCW. They took it off us Aussies doing it at a brewery. But it was still fun. And just before they did that, we actually had the exclusive honor of calling into Brian Cage. We actually had a chance to talk to the Impact World Champion, the frickin' machine, Brian Cage. It's up on our Facebook page. We were a part of the press pass where he had a chance to talk to everyone as part of FC Dallas. We only got to talk to him just for a little bit, but when you encapsulate everything else that everyone else who called in from all across the globe to have a chat to the machine, it was a really great interview. You guys should really check it out. Really helped build up the feud there that he had with Michael Elgin, even more so than what they'd done so far. So we had, for Bash of the Brewery, we opened with the Rascals versus Matthew Palmer, Andy Dalton, and Steve Areno. So these guys are from RCW, I believe is the promotion. Yeah. Weird combination of guys. They were the more ragtag of the two, but yeah, the Rascals easily defeated them. So when Dez pinned Andy with a corkscrew senton, we got a video package for the heated rivalry between Killer Cross and Eddie Edwards. Brian Cage comes out to the ring and talks about his title defense against Michael Elgin this Sunday before he's interrupted by Moose. Now, these two actually meant to face at Bash the Brewery, but Moose got into the ring and said that he could send Brian to the hospital before Michael Elgin attacks Brian from behind, and they beat on him before Moose stops Michael from hitting Brian with a chair, not wanting to send him to a hospital before Michael dies anyway. So Moose then makes Michael leave as officials and staff come out to help Brian. So they actually Brian Cage didn't end up facing anybody during these Impact Plus exclusive shows. So they kept him well recovered. They kept him unsure, just how good's he gonna be when you face off against Slammiversary? We'll find out soon, ladies and gentlemen, if you let it and see this episode. The next thing we had was for the RWA World Championship. You had the champion, didn't know this one, Fallah Bahh versus Anthony Andrews. Fallah Bahh retained his world title by defeating Anthony Andrews with the pinfall after a sit-down splash. I just love Fallah Bahh. I'm really surprised he was not on. He was another person who was done on the card for Slammiversary. I was a little bit disheartened because the bar has been getting better and better. Like, yes, now he's lost Scarlett Bordeaux. We no longer have the bar in the Bay. I'm really curious what's going to happen with them. Like, what's going to happen with Fowler? Like, how he's going to maintain his momentum after losing her. But in terms of his in-ring work, he's the best he's ever been. We had Havoc with Su Yung versus Jordan Grace. So Jordan Grace actually won this by DQ when Su Yung interfered. Afterwards, Rosemary came out to the ring to save Jordan before Jordan went after Havoc when she and Sue started to leave. Her and Rosemary beat them on the stage, and a lot of chaos ensued. So then it turned into Rosemary and Jordan Grace versus Havoc and Su Yung. Like, as I don't know if this was like a jab at WWE, the fact that they now do that with the 2 out of 3 falls matches and the edicts and everything else to like more action right after the commercial break. But it was the only time that happened. Like, Impact Wrestling are not doing that like WWE, thank God. But after all that, you had Rosemary and Jordan Grace defeat Su Yung and Havoc when Rosemary pinned Sue with the spear. Got more hype for Sami Callihan and Tessa Blanchard. You had OVE of Jake, Dave, Chris, Madman Fulton versus Tessa Blanchard, Willie Mack, and Rich Swann. Tessa Blanchard won that one by pin Jake with the Magnum, which, yeah, no surprise there. Jake's always the one getting the pin for OVE, which, yeah, that's fair enough. Michael Elgin. Then you had a triple threat. So you had Michael Elgin versus Moose versus Eddie Edwards. So Moose didn't have an opponent for Bash of the Brewery, so just like they inserted him into this match here. Like, they aren't done inserting Moose into everything just yet in Impact Wrestling. Just like what storyline needs a little bit of spice? Add a little bit of Tommy Dreamer, add a little bit of a Moose. Yeah, that's their recipe for success, quote unquote, with a question mark. But in that one, Michael Elgin won, defeated Eddie Edwards when he pinned him with 3 power bombs. Very, very excessive, but it sent the message across. And then, yeah, for the main event, the tag team title match, LAX versus the North. Josh Alexander, Ethan Page are now the new Impact Tag Team Champions, and I was so excited. I did not see this coming at all. Like, we know that LAX are contemplating leaving Impact Wrestling when their contracts are up. They're going to either re-sign or they're going to go to like whoever has the biggest offer, which would be All Elite Wrestling or WWE. But if you really had to flip a coin, like, one doesn't have great tag team, the other one is trying to develop tag team wrestling. Yeah, there's really it's really no answer there. We kind of know what would happen. But yeah, I did not expect this at all. Like, I thought, like, the way that the North have been built up to this has been weird, man. It's been so weird. Like, yes, they had their great win over the Dinas last week, and they've racked up a couple wins here and there. Like, they defeated RVD and Sabu, but they faced off against LAX before, and they didn't win. And like, it hasn't been a smooth. Like, I think just the whole thing with RVD, the whole RVD storyline kind of messed them up, and like, they should have been just a powerhouse team from the start. Well, at the very least, you didn't see it coming because of the stuff with RVD and Sabu. But yeah, so the North won this one after Ethan hit Santana. It was a very smooth sequence of events that led to them winning the title. So the North hit a wheelbarrow cutter into a German suplex. LAX then got a near fall. Josh getting the foot on the bottom rope before Ethan hit Santana from ringside with the title belt before Josh pinned him for the win and the gold. And if you can watch it, like, it's like, I enjoy the Impact Plus exclusive events, but I don't know if it's just for this one in particular, but just the overlay between audio and the in-ring action, not very seamless. Like, the commentary is just like super loud. It's deafening over like what's happening in the ring. Like, you want to hear like how loud chops can be and everything else, and it's really muffled. You want to try and hear the crowd more, and you can't over Don Callis and Josh Matthews. It's just they entertain me this week during the last Impact, like where they're talking to TJP, like they outwardly said at the start of Impact Wrestling, just saying how he didn't fit the mold in WWE and he's come right back here, and they kind of said to each other, kind of sounds like us, doesn't it? Yep. I love it. Like, only the announcers can actually say WWE and everything else, like the performers can't. There's like an unwritten rule there. But as for this, I did not see the North winning at all. Like, I thought the Rascals would defeat LAX, and then eventually, after we'd forgotten about RVD and Sabu, the North would finally get the titles. But they've just sped up the process. I love this. I love this very much. I'll go into the results from Deep Impact as well. Not much to say there. You had Jordan Grace versus Alex Grazia. I think that's how you pronounce it. Grace won that one with a spine buster. You had Jonathan Vega and Diego De La Cruz versus Desmond Xavier and Zachary Wentz, of course. So you get the Rascals. La Familia got the win after a double-team finisher on Xavier, so they defeated the Rascals. Moose faced off against a person named Mysterious Q. Moose got the pin after a hot shot and the spear. Q was able to hit his cutter finish after Moose flew off the top ropes, but yeah, Moose kicked out of that one. They had a big. This really stood out to me. A 12-man scramble for the ROH TV title. So the TV champion was a guy named Aiden Cristiano. You had Cameron Cole, Brian Keith, Will Alday, Brendan Steen, Isaiah, Josh Alexander, Jake Chris, Dave Chris, Ethan Page, Madman Fulton, and Willie Mack. It started out as a battle royal, then the final two were in like a one-on-one match. So it was a really weird setup how they did it. But ultimately, Alday was immediately eliminated by Steen. It was a nuts thing. Like, you should really check it out on Impact Plus. I'll leave that a mystery for you all there. Then you had Sami Callihan versus Terrell Tempo. It was a double count out, which is weird because build up to Slammiversary. Then you had Michael Elgin versus their Texas champion Moonshine Mantle in a non-title match. Elgin got the pin after the North came down to the ringside to distract the referee, which I thought didn't make sense to me because the North getting involved with maybe fellow Canadian. I don't know. Gino versus Eddie Edwards. He actually got the win for this one. Then you had bunches. Honestly, they had so much matches here. It's hard to keep up with it all. You had AQA versus Hyun versus Su Young versus Tessa Blanchard in a non-title match. You had the ROH tag team, ROW. I apologize. Tag team champions. Fly defeated LAX in a non-title match. You had the ROW champion Ryan Davidson versus X-Division champion Willie Mack in a winner-take-all match. This one, I was really surprised the fact that they would even suggest this. When you suggest the idea of winner-take-all, you think screwy finish or that they're going to commit. And unfortunately, they didn't commit, so they threw out this match, right? This match was thrown out. ROW is owned by Booker T, but he did not appear on the show, which is unfortunate. Would have been nice to see him. The announcer did mention his name several times during the broadcast. But yeah, that was really the big thing from those Impact exclusive events is that the North were the tag team champions going to Slammiversary, and they made that match a triple threat. So it was the North versus LAX versus the Rascals. How do they do? I will answer all those questions and more when I talk about Slammiversary after a word from our sponsors.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
This month we are sponsored by Grapple, a fantastic new wrestling app available on iOS and Google Play completely for free, where you can rate all the matches that you watch in WWE, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, all across the world, and we are even getting Australian wrestling involved in the Grapple app rating system as well, starting with PWA Pro Wrestling Australia. Their Green Label event from the other week is up there. The Black Label event, All Eyes on Troy, is up there. And the last 2 years of events, at least, are up on Grapple right now for you to rate so that people can get around our Aussie wrestling and see that we are just as good as anywhere else in the world. Basically, Grapple is a Rotten Tomatoes for wrestling. Now we all get a say. It is the democratization of match rating systems for pro wrestling. It's amazing. So I get a say, you get a say. You can follow me on there at Greg Unchained. You can follow Big Boy Mikey at B+_Big Boy, at Mr. Mysterious is on there, at Danders is on there, at Jay is on there. We're all on there rating the matches that we watch. So follow us. We'll follow you back. Let's build this community and get as many Australian wrestling fans onto the Grapple app as we can. You can download it right now. It has over 30,000 matches on there going back to 1985, 15 promotions around the world. There's so much to do on the Grapple app. It's a great little community, so get around it. It's Grapple, GRAPPL.co, and it's for free on App Store and Google Play. Get around it. Hey everyone, just want to take a second to tell you about one of our new sponsors, OUTBREAK NUTRITION. OUTBREAK NUTRITION are creating supplements for survival, sharper minds, quicker reflexes, all the energy you need to take your performance to the next level, whether that be on the field, in the gym, on the gaming field. That's right, they have specifically designed gaming supplements as well to help you focus on those late night sessions. They even sell coffee, you guys, at OUTBREAK NUTRITION. You can get coffee pods, you can get coffee beans, you can get supplements for the bedroom as well if you want to enhance your performance there. These are performance enhancing supplements for every aspect of your life, specifically designed by gamers, for gamers, to stay fit and healthy in the gym, to stay sharp and focused on the game, and to dominate in all areas of life. So check out OutbreakNutrition.com, and for being a listener of our podcast, they will give you 10% off your order when you enter the code B+. That is BPLUS at checkout. So make sure, if you want to stay on top of your game, if you want to take your performance to the next level, OutbreakNutrition.com, enter the code B+ at checkout. Hey guys, just a reminder, if you want to hear all of these wonderful B+ podcast episodes completely ad-free, make sure you head over to Patreon or Podbean, where we are the featured podcast this week. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month up to $10 a month, where anything you want to help us with, it really helps out. It's going to help us grow the site. It's going to help us redesign some things, and everything that we get through this and through the advertising as well is all going straight back into the podcast so that we can get Aussie Graps out there for the rest of the world to hear about, for the rest of the world to see, so we can grow this mission of watch global, support local, and build indie wrestling. So if you want to be a part of that and get some really cool rewards like call-in shows, bonus episodes, ad-free like I mentioned, then head over to patreon.com/theb+ and subscribe today.
And we're back, guys, in the second half of our big Impact Zone special, covering all the stuff that's come out from Impact Wrestling this week. We talked about the last episode of Impact Wrestling before Slammiversary. We talked about their exclusive events where the North are now the new tag team champions. And now we cut to Dallas, Texas for Slammiversary 17, Impact's biggest show of the year. This was amazing. I didn't want to give it away at the start of this podcast, but man, this was the most entertaining episode of Slammiversary I have seen of Impact Wrestling. I can't remember the last time I was this excited about Impact. I really can't. I've come back into this at an amazing time. Everyone should really watch this pay-per-view because it was something special. It really was amazing. We had a big pre-show match. So before we got into the big festivities of what's been announced, we had a fatal four-way between TJP versus Trey versus Jake Chris versus Willie Mack. As you'll guess from all of these names in the ring, just everyone was on the top of their game here. Like, it was the perfect thing to get everyone amped up for the main show's matches. Like, from the moment the bell rung, Chris immediately got double super kicked. It was a lot of back and forth between Trey and TJP. They really went to town on each other. It was beautiful. Again, TJP showing just how much athleticism that he has. Like, his tanks just, you would not believe, like, he's in his, like, I think he's still in his early 30s, but he still flies around like a person who is like 10 years younger. He is incredible in that ring. Trey headed to the top rope with TJP in tow. Terry flipped off and hit an arm drag. Mac came back into the ring. You had the return of the Mac. He did a big Samoan drop, keep up, standing moonsault, and cover for a 2 count. You had Chris send Mac out of the ring. Crowd doesn't like Chris. Shocker there. You had TJP tried for a tornado DDT, but he was able to stretch out both Chris and Trey. Mac smashes TJP in the back of the head. Like, there was a great... You had those four-man spots where you think they're going to go for like a big superplex thing. I loved how they did it. Like, TJP managed to do like double armbar submissions in between his like high-flying arsenal. Like, he was really showing just how creative he can be as a submission specialist, just out of the blue on two components at once. And when it looked like they're going to do the classic four-person big spot in the corner, I love how they did this. So TJP had Trey in like a torture rack situation, and it looked like you had Willie Mack and Jake Christ on the top rope, and it looked like he was helping set them up, like for them to both do something off the top rope. But Jake Christ, smart man, just goes under Trey, tries to pin TJP, and it would have worked if Willie Mack hadn't been on the top rope. He just does a big double stomp and just crushes everybody. I've never seen that spot before. Really great in-ring psychology there. Yeah, it was amazing. Chris with the flurry of kicks on TJP. Like, it was a lot of kicks, a lot of strikes. I thought TJP would have won this personally, but the way they did this was pretty clever. So you had Chris headed up for an ugly-looking super cutter on Trey, and then the moment he did that, Willie Mack came in and immediately did the 6-star frog splash onto Jake Christ. 1, 2, 3. The Mac reigned supreme on the pre-show. This was a really great opening to this. I'm glad that Willie Mack, hasn't had much to do this past, I'm going to say month. I mean, he's just been the lackey of Rich Swann for a while, and like, I feel like, we'll get into it later, but I feel like hopefully there are better things for him coming very soon. And the way they had this set up throughout Slammiversary, so they would cut to the back, and it would always be the person who would have their match like right now. So they would cut to, so for instance, they cut to the north for people who didn't watch Bash of the Brewery to let them know that there are new tag team champions. Melissa Santos is talking to Josh Alexander, Ethan Page. I love Ethan Page. Like, now that he's got a fire under his ass, he is now got gold on his shoulder. Yeah, he's doing amazing. And yeah, they told everyone they're the best, and they're going to prove it tonight in their triple threat tag team match. And yeah, this was, I'm glad. I was disheartened. I had no idea what was going to happen, because I wanted the Rascals to win because of the story that's been building up to this, but I didn't want the North to lose, because like I honestly did not guess. I could not have guessed what would have happened, because some people are thinking, like, I saw online people were trying to tell me like, oh, the North are obviously going to win because they've just become the tag team champions. It's like, well, no, the Impact, they can have short title reigns. Like, freaking Pentagon Jr. was the world champion for 2 days. Like, they have had short title reigns, like ones that haven't even lasted a week, right? I had no idea what was going to happen, and for those people who were trying to say that shit, well, you're right. For this time only, the North actually won here. It was a weird, like, both times. So from looking at the Bash of the Brewery where they won the titles to this match where they retained, just the natural transition. Like, I will say, Josh Alexander did a moonsault power slam, and then Ethan Page did a swanton bomb. I did not expect either of them to be capable of such things. It was amazing. Like, the North are so good. They are so good. Everyone was on their A game during this pay-per-view. It was, honestly, I think it's the best Slammiversary that I've seen. I honestly think that it's been incredible watching this. Now, there are a couple of things that I should point out from this. So Santana actually got injured, quote unquote, throughout this match. So he has had a history of leg injuries. Like, he had a leg injury during the tapings, and then he came back. What happened though? So he tried to set up something on the top rope. Josh Alexander pushed him off, and then he looked like he'd done the same knee that he injured. and the referee, he brought out the doctor, Dr. Ariel. This is how you know it's for a storyline. They brought out the actor doctor. And after the match, they're just like, he's insisting to walk out, not get stretched out and everything else. Like, so it was very contrived. But you know what? It leaves you to think like, oh, what are LAX going to do? So it's up in the air where exactly they're going to go right now. We don't know what's happening. So, but in terms of the match itself, yeah. And I'm glad. So Trey had his match at the pre-show, was not at ringside. I was thinking he would get involved. The Rascals would maybe turn on each other if he was at ringside, or he'd screw up their chant at the titles, something like that. I thought maybe that's where they're going to go towards this, but it would have been too chaotic with the six-man match that we had. So I'm glad they didn't do that. But everyone, like, high-velocity matches, back and forth. Like, Ortiz powerbomb Page for a 2 count. Santana, yeah. Conan was telling commentary to get medical help. And in the ring, you had Wentz and Dez try to fight off the North. Page ended up powerbombing one of the Rascals onto Ortiz. Yeah, the North retained their titles, and long may they reign. The kings of the North. They even said it in their little promo. They are the kings of the bloody North. Give them a long title run. We need dastardly heels in the tag title picture. That way, we can help develop some of the other tag teams. Like, maybe they'll eventually put on Ladinas. Like, maybe they'll give it back to LAX if they agree to re-sign with Impact Wrestling. I feel like that's where we're going with this. Like, they might have changed on the fly with this match, why they had to change the titles, and it gives LAX a chance to recover, but they could get more time for the Rascals to prepare. Like, I was hoping for my big Rocky 3 moment here, but no, it was not to be. Nevertheless, though, I am happy that the North are finally tag team champions. I cannot wait for the next episode of Impact Wrestling or for Fallout. They've got another Impact Plus exclusive show coming out soon. Like, it never stops with Impact. It never stops. Oh, there's so much to go through. Then we had Sami Callihan promo. So this is the only post-match promo where the person didn't come out straight away. But it was to let everyone know that for the main event, for the first time in Impact Wrestling history, WWE history, or anything else like that, an intergender singles match main evented a pay-per-view. Like, that ended the show. That's the first time in Impact Wrestling history. More companies should do it. But yeah, so instead of Brian Cage versus Michael Elgin, that was the second to last match. The last match was Tessa Blanchard versus Sami Callihan. And I just thought, the balls on these guys. Impact were trying to make this show a part of history. And just short answer, they succeeded. They succeeded in my mind, but we're not quite there yet. Next match, Killer Cross versus Eddie Edwards. First blood match. Killer Cross came out in a priest outfit, face painted. I loved it. I marked out so hard seeing him just look so twisted. Both men made their way to the ring. Like, this was like, as much as this was the first blood match, no one was out to straight away cut the other person. This was about inflicting as much punishment as possible. And man, the bumps that these guys took, I think Killer Cross more so, like, to Eddie Edwards. Man, they were ugly. They were so cringy. And I mean that in the best way possible. But so Cross piled some chairs, both on the apron, and Cross with a gut-wrench suplex down on the chairs. Edwards was able to work his way down back into the match. He looked for a chair shot. Edwards did a messy-looking blue thunder bomb. Right? Like, all throughout, it was a lot of slams onto the onto the corner of the apron, like to the outside, onto steel chairs, throwing steel chairs at everybody. Like, it was like a lot of these guys did not try and just outwardly win by like getting a knife or getting like thumbtacks or something or other like that. Like it was just you had Eddie Edwards, like they were pushing for him to be like the Rocky Balboa in this story against Killer Cross. And there's a great moment. So Eddie Edwards actually won this match, but the way he did it was very special, very interesting. So after a Boston knee party to the back of the head, Killer Cross is down, and Eddie has found Kenny, Kenny 2.0, if you will. And he's looking at it, and he's taking forever to do something with it. He's talking to Kenny. He's like mentally preparing himself for what he's about to do. Kenny snaps, like Eddie Edwards snaps Kenny in half, and then jams the half of Kenny into Killer Cross's mouth, and he begins to bleed. The match is over. The winner, Eddie Edwards. And man, like, this might, for those of you who don't know anything about Eddie Edwards, and you're thinking like it's just a kendo stick, and I like it should be just a kendo stick. But now, ladies and gentlemen, the first time Eddie lost Kenny, he had no control. This time, though, he willingly sacrificed he willingly sacrificed Kenny, Kenneth, if you will, as Killer Cross would say. And I am looking forward to where we go with Eddie Edwards now. Like, is he going to get crazier? Is he going to get darker? Like, he's tasted the blood of Killer Cross now. He's deranged. Like, he wants to do bad things. We learnt that from the Priest promo the other week. In terms of character development, this is huge. We have no idea where they're going to go with him. I'm excited. And now we thought that they killed off Killer Cross a couple weeks ago. He lived, and I was hoping that he would at least have a match at Slammiversary, and we had that. Now I'm not too sure what they're going to do with him, because he wants to leave. Scarlett's already left. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, maybe they will keep him in the world title picture. Like, I don't think they're going to get rid of the whole supervillain Cross and Brian Cage match just yet. Otherwise, those t-shirts they sold meant nothing. Absolutely nothing. But I think maybe they'll give him like one shot at the title to try and convince him to stay. Maybe. I want it to happen. I don't want him to leave. I'm slowly starting to accept it, though, like, if he does leave. But I don't know where we go from here. And it would be great if he ended here and we just see Eddie Edwards just devolve into something other than what he is. And it's going to be amazing to see. We had Rolando Menendez, investigative reporter, was at Slammiversary. You bastard. He tried to get an exclusive with Tessa. She just shoved him into the wall and walked off. Thank you, Tessa, for not indulging the antics of freaking Rolando Menendez, who is not an investigative reporter. He's just a nuisance on the Impact Wrestling roster, and he should just be purged from the ranks. I'm just saying that right now. We all know it's not just me. He just needs to go, all right? Backstage, Melissa is talking to RVD about Moose. Cringiest RVD promo ever. He's like all over the place with this one. He rambled so much. He's trying to put over Moose, saying the fact that the way he called him out was very old school, and like it's very smart because I'm great, like calling out the best guy here, and it could work if you beat me, but we don't know yet, right? And he's trying to make it seem like I'm a cool, calm, collected guy, you know, but Moose, you've really pissed me off, and like he's all over the place. Like, you watch it, he didn't fluff his lines or anything, but it was a lot of everything was over there. Like, Melissa, bless Melissa, like, she tried to keep him on track. She tried to get something out of him and tried to make it work with what she had. But RVD was just, he was everywhere and nowhere at the same time in this one. And then Moose versus Rob Van Dam. This one was fun. So of all the matches that we had on the card, I think this was like the most basic match that we had on the entire card. Which, and like I will say, like even though that was the most basic match on the entire card, it was still a great match. And Moose carried RVD like a pro. He made him look like $1 million, and Moose was just in the zone throughout the entire thing. Commentary, I got annoyed with because we heard the same things over and over and over again that they like to talk about with Moose and with RVD, saying like the RVD's in the Guinness Book of World Records. Oh, Moose used to play football, and it's like RVD hasn't aged a day. He's fantastic when he's sweating his balls off, and like saying Moose, no jackhammer required spear and everything else. Like it was cut and paste commentary. Like I really think they took away from some of this match. I was hoping that they could just come up with something new, like maybe focus more on the match itself. But they had to get. It was like they were reading off the sheets, like point by point, the things they needed to talk about with Moose and RVD. But as for the match itself, RVD he looked great. So Moose dominated for most of the match. RVD he got the adrenaline towards like the second half. They brought in a steel chair, like referee's discretion clearly, because the guys were doing like landing on chairs and they pushed the referee, but the referee didn't disqualify them. I don't know if it was like he looked at the chair and like the referee didn't kick it out of the way because he knew that it was meant to be for a spot. It was stupid. It was stupid. Like any other referee, any other match with any other like wrestlers, they would have disqualified them for even using, like, Rob Van Dam used a Van Daminator while the referee was looking right at him, and he did nothing. Absolutely nothing, right? And even after this is after Rob Van Dam pushed the referee, and then Moose did the same, but apparently he took umbrage with the fact that Moose pushed him and not RVD. It was all over the place. It was. But the finish, ladies and gentlemen, the finish of this match. So, steel chair in the middle of the ring. Moose is on the steel chair. RVD goes for the 5-star frog splash. Misses, lands on the chair. Moose with a spear onto the chair. 1, 2, 3. Moose, rightfully, the new whole effing show, has defeated Rob Van Dam the way it should be, the right result. I'm so happy. Like, I was so worried. I was worried that RVD would not take the loss here and Moose would come out looking like an idiot. But he won the match. No post-show antics. He just left. He looks great. He has momentum going. He looks like a killer. Moose, keep at it, please. Like, you are a wonderful, wonderful man, and you will go far. Like, I feel like he could maybe be the next contender for the world title. The way they're kind of pushing him, like, because he's got nothing else going on, and he's just beat a former world champion. They're going to use that. They're going to use those bragging rights. And what better way than to face off against the winner of the world title, like world championship match later on in this episode. Backstage, Melissa talks to Taya Valkyrie, and apparently her and Brian Cage are engaged, like Melissa Santos and Brian Cage. Congratulations to them, because Taya's like, don't you have a wedding to plan? Did my invitation get lost in the mail? Like, well, gee, Taya, you've been so nice to Melissa for like the past couple months. Why wouldn't she want to invite you to her wedding? Like, gosh, like, clearly that's the perfect way to get invited to someone's wedding. But yeah, Taya Valkyrie is saying that all her opponents are a bunch of emos. She was not expected to be in this match. She doesn't understand why she's involved, but nonetheless, she'll walk out champion still. And this might be my favorite match on the card. The Monsters Ball Fatal 4-Way for the Impact Knockouts Championship. Taya Valkyrie versus Rosemary versus Su Yung versus Jessica Havoc. A demon, a devil, and an assassin against Taya Loca. I was worried that, like, ladies and gentlemen, I was worried that Taya Valkyrie would look so out of place in this Monsters Ball match. How wrong I was. And I am glad that I was wrong, because Taya Valkyrie the first time she's actually shown any time of sorry, I'm phrasing this wrong because she has been vindictive, but any time of like absolute like savagery and just she can like I thought she would be so out of place in a hardcore match. I was dead wrong. And you want to talk about all the spots in this match? Most of the big like memorable ones, they were Taya doing them to a lot of people. Like really it was Su Yung took the most punishment out of everybody in this match, and specifically she took a lot of it from Taya Valkyrie. This was an amazing I talked about this a few weeks ago that I was really I was going to be a bit disappointed because this is the first Monsters Ball match that we've had since Abyss left Impact Wrestling, and I was like, oh, if it doesn't work out, then we're going to like miss the old days. But like, oh, this is so good. This was so good. I mean, Taya Valkyrie used a staple gun on Su Young's spine, right? Like, and then she pulled out an 8x10 of herself. She's like, said, I'm going to make Su look pretty. Staple it onto her forehead. Then after it fell off, crumpled it up, put it in Su's mouth. Big knee to the face. Like, Taya was awesome. Like, she was awesome in this. Like, I cannot stress enough. Like, you had the bits and pieces here where Su Yung and Havoc, they finally collided, and when they finally they broke up each other's pinfalls and they started fighting, Su Yung went for the miss. Jessica Havoc moved out of the way. Father James Mitchell was on the apron and he got sprayed. So Su Yung might be breaking out of the undead realm's clutches, and maybe she'll, dare I say, talk or have a personality like going forward. Is that too much to ask for, ladies and gentlemen? Is that too much to ask for? But they brought out thumbtacks in this. Like, brought out ladders. They brought out tables. Everything you could think of. This was truly a Monsters Ball, right? Like, Valkyrie ended up suplexing Rosemary as she suplexed Young down onto the ladder. Like, it looked like Havoc was going to powerbomb Taya Valkyrie, but she reversed it into like a drop toe hold so that Havoc landed onto the ladder. Everything, like Rosemary, she got a few, like, she was like the second person who took like the most punishment in this match. But really, this was Taya Valkyrie's match from the beginning. The level of like violence that she displayed, like, she truly wears the pants in her relationship with her and Johnny Impact. I'm saying that now. If there was ever any doubt, like, she holds the pants, ladies and gentlemen. And so we had some thumbtacks in the ring. Taya Valkyrie hit Su Yung with a side effect into a table. Like, it was like, I feel like I'm missing spots because there was so much to go through here, right? And you had Havoc did the finish was, and I love the finish here. So after coming up with all these new innovative ways to inflict punishment, ultimately, like, Rosemary, Su Yung, and Havoc were twisted. They were in their element, but Taya was just too crafty because Havoc did a super tombstone pile driver to Su Yung onto thumbtacks, and Taya pushed Havoc out of the ring. 1, 2, 3, retains her title. I was so happy. I thought that she would not have a chance in hell of winning this match. But you know what? Like, she walked out, and I have a whole new level of respect for Taya Loka. Like, she did great. The next match we had was Rich Swann versus Johnny Impact, accompanied by Johnny Bravo for the X Division Championship. This one, it was not what I thought it would be. It was very slow compared to their other confrontations. Like, maybe because they've done this a few more times, like, and they're trying to make it seem different. But I'll talk about the the promos, like the build up before, how like again Rich Swan's talking to Melissa Santos, saying that, and then Johnny Impact comes in, he tries to taunt the champion a bit before heading off. They make jokes and saying that afterwards he's going to win the championship, and he and Taya are going to celebrate all night long, baby. And then they start singing All Night Long by Lionel Richie, and just Johnny Bravo just like, all night, all night, all night, all night. I thought it would just be, again, I thought it would just be Johnny Bravo saying that and Impact just like shutting him up. But no, they did a duet. All night, all night, all night. It was so stupid, but it was funny. But in terms of the match itself, yeah, very slow towards the start. Like, not in terms of, like, they didn't do any rest holds or like submissions, thank God. But in terms of what they've done before, man, it just seemed like, I don't know, something was missing in this match. And I don't like to say that when it comes to these guys, because both of them, they were all over the place. Impact sent the champ face first into a barricade. He mocked Swan, like dancing, like he was doing a bit of, like Swan was doing a bit of NJ in the ring before he started. Impact dropped Swan. He went for a pin for a 2 count. He dumped Swan out on the floor. Impact grabbed the title and got the referee's attention. Bravo stomped away on Swan, sent him back into the ring. Yeah, it's a pretty standard thing. Surprisingly, Rich Swan retained his title. I did not see this coming. And I feel like, so now that he's still the champion, there are a couple of ways they can go about this. Now, each one, I'm hoping, like, each one has a lot of possibilities. So they can either go 2 ways with this now that Rich Swann has not lost the title. They can either go with Rich Swann versus Willie Mack, which they should, or they can go the WWE route of, like, former WWE stars, Rich Swann versus TJP. I think it's too early to do that. I feel like they're going to still try and have Ace Austin, TJP. They're going to keep doing that for a little bit. And like the match that we could have at the moment, Willie Mack versus Rich Swann, would work great. But I don't know. I don't know whether I had my money on Impact. I had my money on the X Division champion, like the championship couple 2.0. I've been saying this for months, and it hasn't happened. I feel like TJP has thrown a curveball into this. Like, if he hadn't shown up again, I feel like I would have been right, but we won't know. We'll probably never know. That's just me, just with my theories here. So Swan, he did a bunch of kicks, 2 lethal injections, so 2 springboard cutters, then a 450 to put away Johnny Impact. It was decisive, like it was back and forth. Like it was slow at the start, but in the end, like it turned out really well. I'm really happy. Like, even though I was disappointed that Johnny Impact didn't win, I am happy that Rich Swann is still the champion. And then we have what we thought would be the main event, but clearly not. The Machine, Brian Cage. Feel it. The adrenaline. Versus his challenger, Michael Elgin, the unbreakable Michael Elgin. These guys just went everywhere in this match. And look, I liked the main event. I did. I still think this should have been the main event. Personally, should have been the main event. Not complaining too much, though. But as for this, so a lot of back and forth, a lot of kicks to the face in this one. Cage took Elgin off his feet with a shoulder block. Couple of throw bombs at each other. Like, it was just two hosses just going to town on each other. And you want to talk about core strength and just feats of athleticism. Friggin' Brian Cage did a 619 at one stage. Michael Elgin deadlifted the mountains of muscle that is Brian Cage. Like, these guys, like, Brian Cage was doing enziguris, German suplexes. He did everything. That they both reversed out of everyone's thing, like test of strength, you name it. These guys pulled off a classic. And in a match between 2 hosses like these guys, it was truly something special. right? You had a bunch of pump kicks, like the bunch of buckle bombs. This match had it all, right? And they even had a second ref, I think, at one stage. But just Cage did a springboard tornado DDT. Again, 619 turned Elgin inside out, plants him down on the mat for a 2 count. Elgin ended up on Cage's shoulders and gets sent down to the mat for a cover. The crowd really were amped up during this match. You could hear the Terminator chants throughout this entire match. I loved it. But yeah, both men are hitting each big shots in the middle of the ring. Elgin did a big super kick, jumping knee by Brian Cage. Elgin did a couple more kicks before finally putting Cage down. You had a buckle bomb, and Cage hit the buckle bomb, and then F5 didn't put him away. Elgin did a Canadian Destroyer. He did a freaking Canadian Destroyer. I'm trying to go through my notes here, right? Cage went for the draw claw, but his back gave out, so they didn't use that in-ring psychology too much. So that was Elgin constantly targeted the back, but it didn't really come to play towards the very end. So the Machine, as much as we call him the Machine, he was starting to break down towards the very last second, to make you doubt, maybe he's not going to get the win. And I love the finish for this, because after we've had so much feats of strength, so much I'm stronger, no, I'm stronger, what ultimately won the match was Elgin with a discus punch, right? He did a buckle bomb, looked for the pin, but Cage just rolled him up and stacked him for a pinfall. He did a quick roll up. That was it. Wasn't a big fussy move. Wasn't just completely overpowering his opponent. It was just, scoop him up. He was just smarter. He wasn't stronger in this match. He was just smarter. And Elgin was livid. Oh, he was so salty. After the match, Elgin took the title and smacked Cage in the back of the face with it. This was interesting. Elgin is on, goes over to commentary and yells at Don Callis while Josh Matthews runs off. Callis goes to take the title, but Elgin stops him and tosses him into the ring. It looks like Elgin was once again going to take out Don Callis. They teased us again, and it didn't happen. Damn it. I don't wish ill will on anybody, but man, they keep teasing us with this spot. Just get it over with. Knock out Don Callis just once. But that's not the thing that people are going to be talking about after this heavyweight title match, ladies and gentlemen, because after this, when it looked like Elgin was going to take out Don Callis, a masked man showed up and did a spear, or a gore, if you will. So the mystery man had his face covered, but he taunted Michael Elgin for a bit, then ran back through the crowd. Now, this man was very girthy. He had a specific build to him. There was a lot of force behind that spear. It was Rhino. There's no doubt in my mind it was Rhino. And I totally forgot that he had left WWE. So if you list all the rest, about a month or so ago, we would have told you that he turned down an offer by WWE they were going to double his contract, but they had no plans for him. They were just going to double his contract so he could just do absolutely nothing on the indie scene. And he actually wants to wrestle. Shock and horror. He actually wants to compete on television. I know, the horror. And yeah, we're going to build to this, and I'm glad. So Brian Cage has had a successful title defense. You have Michael Elgin, didn't lose definitively, so we can still go back to this feud. But for right now, Elgin versus Rhino, maybe at Bound for Glory. Oh, that would be something special. That would be really something special. The crowd were very much behind this, and you could tell straight away. You look at the legs, you look at the thighs on the masked man, you just that's Rhino. That has to be Rhino. There's no one else could be. I'm going to be very surprised if it wasn't. I'm glad that Rhino has had a couple runs in Impact Wrestling with TNA as well. I'm just trying to remember what he's done, because he is SmackDown Tag Team Champion with Heath Slater. That was 2 years ago. It was a while, guys. And yeah, let's not forget, like, as much as like Rhino is a former world champion in TNA. Like, he was the NWA world champion. So this is like early 2000s, but he was still a champion. And to go back to the place that he was maybe the most respected, arguably, and where he has a bit of history to him, yeah, like, there's a lot to work with there. So I am very glad that Rhino is back in Impact Wrestling. And this should have been the main event. This should have, but I'm not upset. I'm not upset because what we had was a history-making intergender wrestling match. And I was worried, like, not because it was an intergender wrestling match, not at all. But I was worried because this wasn't a hardcore stipulation match. And I know, like, when Sami Callihan has the ability to use weaponry, he can do great things. He can do like, when it's OVE rules or anything else, he's great. But I was really worried how much he could convey in a normal wrestling match, and if after, like, the big, like, powerhouse Godzilla Mothra match we had with Cage and Elgin, how this is going to stack up. And they didn't go for big flashy moves in this one. They just went for the emotion. They just went for the intensity, the fire. Like, that's what this match is all about. And it was just to prove that intergender wrestling is no joke and that Tessa Blanchard is truly undeniable. So she came out with a gold bat. She did a wink. Greg Unchained doesn't like her wink. I'm calling him out now. Like, I think it's fine. Like, I think it works with her character. It's just, it's corny, but it works with, like, she's just this, like, she's a genetic marvel, right? Like, the muscles and everything else. So it doesn't matter that the way she winks. It does not. The crowd, understandably, very much behind Tessa Blanchard, as her and Callihan, they kind of sized each other up. Callihan did the thumbs up, thumbs down. Blanchard immediately landed some forearms and punches in him. Hurricanrana onto him as well. She did a big springboard drop kick. So for the most part, Tessa was in control during the start. And then the savagery and just, like, how can you do that to a woman? Like, that whole commentary started to come out. Callihan swung Blanchard into a barricade a couple of times and hit a Death Valley driver onto the floor. Tessa Blanchard kept kicking out, kept on swinging. This was a great main event. So, again, in terms of which match was the best on the card, I still argue that it was the knockout title, Monsters Ball. And in terms of wrestling, in terms of, like it was, they would have been screwed anyway following the Cage Elgin match. But you know what? They made it work. They did make it work. So Callihan seemed pretty proud of his work throughout this entire match. Like, he is really continually putting over the fact that, like, this is what happens when a knockout gets in the ring with a man or gets in the ring with the draw and everything else. He's really being detestable, and then the spit comes out and everything else. Like, not as bad as he has been, not as repugnant, although the referee did get a bunch of snot. It's like, we didn't see it, thankfully. Otherwise, I would have, like, dry heaved and just vomited on my computer screen. I'm glad I didn't see it. Callihan looked to do a pile driver onto the ramp, but then Tessa Blanchard put into a cutter. The referee started a 10 count, but both competitors got into the ring. Callihan tried shoving her away before she got back into the ring, and Callihan asked for a punch. Hit me as hard as you can, right? Callihan flipped her off and said, "Is that all you got, biatch?" And just like, oh no, like, and like, he kept calling her crazy. Like, he didn't call her crazy. So during that segment on the last episode of Impact, he kept calling her crazy, and that just, like, you never call a woman crazy, even if it's true. You don't call a woman crazy. And he's just, like, continually getting her to get fired up and angry and angrier. She lands a bunch of shots before Callihan punched her in the midsection, did a Samoan drop, and headed to the top rope. Like, Tessa landed a tornado DDT. This match it had everything. It did have everything in this one. Tessa did actually land the Magnum at some point for a near fall, and ultimately, I did like the finish of this. So Tessa was starting to get a little bit full of herself. So, Tessa, Sammy is telling Tessa to quit. She spits in his face, right? Blanchard, then she just the mother flirking. I don't know what it is with wrestling companies lately. They're dropping the F-bomb a lot. Is it just me? MLW, Impact Wrestling, you guys are trying to get edgier with your content. A lot of mother flirkins and everything else. But yeah, so afterwards, the moment that Tessa did the Magnum and it was a near fall, she went right for the crossface. And I thought, maybe they're going to do it. Maybe they're going to give her the win, right? Callahan almost tapped. He stands up, hit a package pile driver for a near fall. Tessa can't believe it, and she was getting a bit cocky. So this is what happened. So Blanchard did thumbs up, thumbs down right into Callahan's face, and he got pissed off and did the pile driver for 1, 2, 3. So it wasn't overpowering that it costed the match. It wasn't brutal tactics. It wasn't everything else. It was Tessa got a bit ahead of herself and it costed the match. So it was more to do with Tessa being the one at fault, and Sami Callahan won the match. And I'm glad that they could have easily gone with no, the woman has to win in this one, but she didn't need to win because she still came off looking great. And after the match, Callahan, he took his bat and her bat, her golden bat. It looked like he was going to attack her again, but he actually hands her the gold bat and mark of respect. He's just nice, and just the crowd cheered as the show ended. I'm curious because they've been talking about maybe Tessa getting into world title picture. They wanted some knockout to be an intergender icon for Impact Wrestling. They wanted it to be Scarlett. Not the case now. Now they've kind of handpicked that role for Tessa Blanchard. I don't know. I could see them doing it. I could. It would be crazy. I would love for them to. Impact Wrestling made so many statements during this episode. It was all about making history here, and they definitely did that. The high points for me were the Monsters Ball match, was the world title match. The low point was RVD and Moose, but even then, that still actually worked out really well. And the other low point, I think maybe the X Division title match. Although I am glad, surprisingly, all 4 champions retained their titles. No title changes at all on the Slammiversary. And I'm still happy with how it turned out. I'm really satisfied. Everyone, please subscribe to Impact Plus. Have a listen, have a watch of what just happened, because it's really incredible. Sami Callahan, a lot of the wrestlers did a lot of promos building up to Slammiversary. Sami Callahan especially, he's imploring people, Impact has changed. It's not TNA anymore. And this proved it. This is not TNA. It's Impact Wrestling. And they are trying to make statements. They're trying to be bold. They're trying to be daring. They're trying to push the envelope. They're trying to do all these things. And it's the great time to do it, especially with wrestling heating up with AEW and everything else. They aren't down for the count. They are going strong. And yes, we've had some questionable decisions over the past few weeks, but you know what? They're going to hopefully get a new TV deal. They're rumored to be being picked up with AXS soon, which they also broadcast New Japan and WoW as well. So if they can manage that and people can actually see, so with Pursuit, with that horrible TV deal they have, where more people can actually see how good Impact Wrestling has gotten since the days of TNA. It's gotten so good. And I look forward to watching Impact Wrestling. It's a unhealthy relationship, but it's getting better. We've seen we've had couples counseling, Impact Wrestling and I, and we're on good terms for now. I like where we're at. We're at a good place. But guys, as one Impact fan to hopefully another, whoever's listening, don't sit on Impact Wrestling, because These guys need all the support they can get, and there are some incredible performers here that just need some more eyes on the product. And you know what? These guys are going to change so much with professional wrestling going forward. I can guarantee it. That's where we're going to leave things right now, guys. If you want to follow me on all the socials, I'm at Mysterious with a 1-7i, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Grapple. Hit me up. We'll have a good old chat about what you love about this big week of Impact Wrestling. If you want to follow us collectively here at the B Plus, because we're an okay bunch, and I do say so myself, we are at the B Plus Wrestling on Twitter, because wrestling wouldn't fit, the B Plus Wrestling everywhere else. Remember, guys, we have our Patreon. Any amount you could donate would be greatly appreciated, so we can keep giving you what you want, when you want, highlighting the very best of Australian wrestling and keeping you up to date on all the wrestling news from around the globe. Like, share, subscribe, hit that 5-star review. I've been Mr. Mysterious for the Impact Zone, and I'll see you later.